Boltworks Today is a viewer-supported show. To learn more on how you can get involved and watch extended, ad-free versions of these videos, please visit our website, boltworkstoday.com, and click on the top of the heading where it says Support This Show. Thank you. So you just spent a bunch of time and money on a brand new paint job, and it looks fantastic. But I'm guessing that's not going to be something you're going to want to go through again anytime soon, right? And if you're going to want to keep it looking this good, you're going to have to know how to take care of it. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, the most important thing that you can do to maintain this finish, as simple as it sounds, is just keep it clean. Now, before you start driving a soapy rag across your finish here are some things that you really want to consider. First off, and this is pretty important, and it's a step that a lot of people skip, pre-rinse your surface. You want to try and remove as much dirt and surface grime as you can before you actually start running a rag over this, because whatever you don't rinse off is going to get hung up in your rag and you're going to be pushing it across your paint. The second thing is make sure you're using a good soap. Now, most paint manufacturers, well, I shouldn't say most, a lot of manufacturers will also make a soap that they formulated to work with their paints. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. Basically, what you're looking for is you want to try to use a soap that is pH neutral, meaning it's not acidic and it's not basic. It's kind of right smack dab in the middle. If you're using a soap that's either one of those two things, you're going to be stripping any kind of a protective coating that you have on there off. Whether you're using a wax or like a polymer sealant, you're going to be stripping that off at a faster rate, which means you're going to have to come back sooner rather than later to reapply that. And that's not a fun job. You know, it's just not a fun job. Next thing, you work in small areas. You know, work in small manageable areas so that you can wash and then rinse off before that soap dries. You don't want the soap to be drying on the surface because you'll see it. Now, this is all very basic stuff, which is why I'm kind of skimming over this, because I think most of us know all of this, and I'm trying to blow through this to get to some better stuff, which is coming. One very, 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 very important thing is you have to make sure that your bucket, that the bucket that's holding your soapy water is clean. I know that sounds simple, but you got to make sure that your bucket is clean. If there is sand that has blown in there, you know that that's going to get picked up in your rig, and you're going to be basically rubbing sandpaper across your boat. That's okay. Come on, you can say it. That is so not cool. All right, now get out of here. So now you've rinsed the surface, you've cleaned it, and you've rinsed it off again really well. Now from here, there's a few different directions that you can go. If you're happy with how everything looks, and you know you just went over the surface not too long ago and either waxed it or sealed it, you know, if that's the case, from here you can just call it an evening, you know, and be done. If it's been a while, or if you're not seeing any water beating up on the surface, then the next probably thing that you should do would be to go ahead and apply a protective coating, whether it's like a polymer sealant or like just a good wax. However, if you really want to bring that surface back to look like the day that it was first painted, here's how you do it. You're going to want to polish it. This is the step that really gives that wow factor. It's going to make people rubberneck as they're walking down the dock just to get another look at your boat. Now, I've tried a lot of different polishes, you know, everything from Meguiar's to 3M products, and even some off-brands that I gave a shot, and well, whatever. And some do an okay job, some don't work at all. But there is one that is just absolutely hands down, the best that I've ever used. And unfortunately, this is not any kind of a plug or an endorsement, or you know, I'm not getting anything from this. This is just strictly sharing my experience. But 3M, if you happen to see this and you want to, you know, get involved with the show, I'd love to have you. But the product that I'm talking about is made by 3M, and it is called their Perfect It not to finesse it, but they're perfected. And it looks like this. But it's their number 3 compound, and it's machine, well, you can apply it by hand also, but you don't get the same effect. So it's really best to apply it with machine, you know, like a buffer, with their specific pad. It's a specific foam pad that you use. Now, 3M has all of their products color-coded. So, you know, this has the blue top. So for using this product, you would use their foam buffing pad that is this same color, this kind of baby blue. Now, there are other brands of pads that you can use. Like, for example, I don't use the 3M pads just because I like to use a smaller diameter pad just so that I have a little bit more control. So I tend to use Meguiar's pads, but as long as you're matching the correct style pad with the compound that you're using, it all works the same. All right, now to prep this pad, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a light coating of this compound and rub it into the pad. And you can see how much I'm putting on, which looks like a lot, I guess, until you come through and rub it in. Now, some compounds are meant to be buffed until they're dry. This is not one of those. This is meant to stay, you know, kind of wet. But you want to run this material and stop and wipe it back off before it starts to get dry. So it's meant to be buffed wet, I guess. When I'm at this step, I will probably do. I'll probably work like 2 by 2 foot areas at a time. So I'll come in and I'll work an area about like this, go up and down, back and forth, and then I'll wipe it off with a clean microfiber towel. Let me zoom in so you can see what's going on. And this is going to be running at a slow speed. I want to say, let's see, where's my buffer? This is going to be about roughly 900 RPM. If you decide to do that polishing step, then this next step is going to be your last. If you decided not to do the polishing, then, well, you'd already be at this point. But from here, the last thing you want to do is apply some sort of a protective sealant, whether that be like a polymer type sealant or like a traditional wax, like a carnauba wax, paste wax, you know, that sort of thing. Now, sealants and waxes are two, well, it gets a little convoluted. But let's just say, for argument's sake, they're two different things. Sealants basically form kind of they bond to the surface. You know, they make a film, but it isn't really a film. I don't quite know how to explain it. Waxes, on the other hand, the way that they work is by leaving a thin film. If you do multiple waxes throughout the season without removing that, you get wax buildup. And what that will do is it'll dull your appearance. But I guess the part that I have more of an issue with is that wax buildup will also make it easier for dirt and grime to stick to it, which again goes back to our first step of, you know, that's what will most likely cause most of your scratches in your paint. So I like to use sealants just because they work a little bit differently, and they're also, in my opinion, they're also more user-friendly. So there are a number of brands out there. I think Interlux makes one, 3M makes some, Conolite makes some. I mean, there are a number of brands. The one that I tend to go with is made, of course, it's made by All Grip, and I'm using that not just because this is All Grip that I painted, you know, that I used on this boat. But All Grip's just they're a company that's been in the coating business for over 40 years. I mean, that is what they do. So they've pretty much gotten this down to a science. And the product that they recommend and that I typically tend to prefer is called All Care. The way that you apply it is very similar to wax. Shake it up real well, and using a clean cotton towel, cotton rag, basically just rub it in. Let it haze over, and then I usually come back over with a microfiber towel to remove it. And just like that, it's already dry. Now this sealant is also kind of also a real mild cleaner. Going over your painted area with this All Care, you know, this will also take care of water spots, minor, very minor stains, and at the same time, it leaves just a fantastic finish. So as far as the schedule that I typically recommend having someone go through this process, in my area, I'm in northern Wisconsin. So what I generally recommend is that in the spring, before they launch, they go through, polish the boat, and then apply their sealant or their wax, whatever their customer prefers. Launch the boat, and then also in the fall time, as soon as the boat comes out, you know, give it a good washing, and then apply another coat of the sealant or the wax. Buffing doesn't have to be done all that often. I typically do it once a year in the spring, but waxing or applying this polymer coating, I typically do it twice, once in the spring and once in the fall. Now, if you're somewhere down south where you're just getting beat to death by the sun, you know, you may want to do it more often. Basically, washing as often as you can, try and keep it clean, and then again, go through and do these steps in the spring and in the fall, and you'll maintain the finish on your boat, and it'll look fantastic for many, many years. So on that note, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Now remember, in the next video, we're going to be covering these same types of tips and tricks, but specific towards gel coat. Now, if you happen to miss the previous video to this one, where I discussed the pros and cons of both paint and gel coat, I'll include a link for that right down here. And if this is your first time here, I would love to have you subscribe to this channel. I'll include a link for that right here. So it's the end of the night. I'm going to bug out of here, but as always, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all again very soon.
This has been a Boatworks Today production.